Welcome to San Mateo County Today. Conversations with government leaders throughout San Mateo County. Here's your host, Marshall Wilson.
Welcome to San Mateo County Today. I'm your host, Marshall Wilson. Redwood City is about the most happening place on the peninsula. There's a lot of development going on, and there's a lot of ways to get involved in the community. I'm joined today by Mayor John Seybert to tell us all about it. I'm here with Mayor John Seybert of the City of Redwood City. John, thanks for coming and being on San Mateo County Today.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity to come and talk to your viewers.
One thing I want to talk with you about is civic engagement. It's a topic we hear a lot about during the presidential race and all the other races. And civic engagement is really ways for people to get involved in their community. And I know Redwood City has launched a few new avenues, the way people can get in touch with their elected officials in their city. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's great. You know, civic engagement, since I've been in Redwood City, and I moved here almost exactly 19 years ago, was something that was really apparent to me right off the bat. It was highlighted. It was something that was talked about and practiced. And I'm excited to have the new ways, really, as the culture has changed into more digital opportunities and online opportunities. Our civic engagement has changed, and I think we've got some exciting things coming up. People can connect with the city through Twitter, through Facebook, through another Nextdoor, through a number of other opportunities. Can contact the council. I know that all of our council is very active on the various social media sites. And so it's a great way for people to interact with us and receive information, but also communicate thoughts to us. And we're looking at other ways of doing that. We've opened up new email links specifically for hot topics that are coming up, so people can email specifically on those topics directly to us.
And one thing you're going to be doing is a World Cafe. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's something that this is probably the first time it's really been talked about in public. Just a couple of days ago, the Vice Mayor Ian Bain and I had a conversation and realized that it's time to bring the community together around the topic of the Downtown Precise Plan. And it's about 4 or 5 years since the Precise Plan was approved and launched. And obviously the Precise Plan, through that planning device, downtown is being completely transformed. I told somebody a few years ago, about 3 years ago, that in 5 years they wouldn't recognize downtown, and that probably happened a lot sooner than that.
Sure.
And so rather than, we want to bring the community together around a conversation about how that's gone, what the experience has been, what can we do better the next time around, what have we learned from it, but really what the experience has been and the goals that we had for the Downtown Precise Plan, how have those been achieved? And rather than do that in a setting of a council meeting where people come and sit in the audience and it's more of a talking to each other, we're reaching out. Actually, I think we have a meeting scheduled for next week with a civic engagement leader in our community, and we're hoping he's going to take on the task of hosting a World Cafe in our community around the topic of the downtown. So we're excited about it. Again, it's the first time I've actually even heard myself completely describe it, but we're excited for people to look at that, and then the council can glean from that conversation ways to move forward.
What is some of the feedback you've been hearing about the downtown? I know some people love it. There's cafes, there's liveliness. I was just down there the other day with my daughter for a STEM fair in the History Museum, and the place was just you can just feel the energy of downtown now. But I know some people aren't happy with the development. What are you hearing as the mayor?
I think one of the challenges that the downtown has faced, I think everybody realizes and loves the vibrancy of it. When I first moved to Redwood City in 1997, I lived just a few blocks from downtown. And don't remember ever having a reason to go there. I remember walking to Safeway and to the Starbucks there at Sequoia Station, but never even ventured beyond the train station. And now, obviously, downtown is really the focal point of Redwood City. And as I've said, the downtown had a lot of pieces that needed to come together. We talked about the legs of the stool being entertainment and retail and restaurant and housing. And all of those, and public places where people can gather. And all those things are finally coming online. As with anything else with a change, there's been challenges with that. There's been challenges of traffic and parking. And a lot of it is people going through just the change cycle and understanding that as things morph, we have new people in Redwood City, and it can be difficult. I know it can be difficult at times for myself to find my way around. But I think in the end, as I've seen it in many other cities, the vibrancy will stay. It will integrate into the community. The downtown will become more a fabric of who we are, and it's exciting. It is very exciting to have that. I just recently did a meet and greet at one of the new apartment buildings with a group of people that are all new to Redwood City, and I was surprised about two things. One, I was surprised about the age range of people living in there. People that had retired and sold their larger homes to move into a smaller apartment, very walkable area. They loved that. And the vibrancy is the young people coming in. So it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to that continue. The challenges we have, that's part of the World Cafe, is to bring those to light. We've certainly heard about them, and to work together as a community. Our downtown precise plan came about because of thousands and thousands of community touches and engagements in meetings and years and years. I mean, it started in the early to mid-90s, that plan. And so we want to bring our community together to see how to continue to polish it. And really make it the jewel of Redwood City that it is.
That's actually something I hadn't thought of. You touched on is a lot of people are getting older. This gives them a place to live now. Whereas before, probably if you wanted to sell your single-family home up in the hills, you probably couldn't really stay in Redwood City just for the lack of affordable housing, but just for the lack of housing options.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that moving to an apartment in downtown Redwood City is a more affordable option, but certainly when your home now is appreciated to the point of being probably worth 10 times what it was when you bought it, maybe more. I mean, if you bought in the early 70s, there are homes that are probably worth 20 times what they were. And using that equity they have to then live in a simpler, walkable environment. I think that is an option. And again, I've met several people that have done that and are looking at doing that.
So what are some ways for people to get involved in their government? We've talked a little bit about the civic engagement, some of these new platforms, but you also have quite a few openings on your boards and commissions that are advisory, correct?
Yeah, you bet. That's how I got involved in Redwood City. I moved here and after a couple of years was looking for a way to plug into the community and began to look at and saw an ad on TV for the Planning Commission. And so I started to apply. It took me 3 years in a row of applying, and I was appointed to the Planning Commission. And I was still a relative newcomer at that point. I'd lived here about 4 years at that point, and got involved in one of our many boards, commissions, or committees. And we do. We are just about to launch. We are just about to launch the second phase of a recruitment process. We just finished recruiting, or in the process of we'll be appointing some seats, but we have a number of seats coming up on our library board, on our planning commission, on the port commission, historic resources, board of building review, architectural advisory committee. And boards, commissions, and committees are not the way to get involved. They're a way to get involved. But we have a number of other opportunities. In the last week or so, I have actually been at events where we have talked about the thousands and thousands of hours that volunteers do in our library, in our senior center, in our parks and arts areas, and those are great opportunities for people to get involved in the community. And it's often that we find board members for our boards, committees, and commissions through those different ways to volunteer. And so I'm excited. I tell people, fall in love with Redwood City if you haven't already, and find a place to plug in, because there are great people to work with. City Trees is another one. They're on the verge of planting, I think they're close to their 3,000th tree in Redwood City. It's another way, if you love to work with your hands, is to get involved with City Trees and plant trees in our community. So that's many exciting ways to do that.
What do you look for in the people who are applying for these positions? Because they're council appointed, correct?
They are. Yeah, most of them are. There's a couple of boards. The Historic Resources Advisory is appointed by the Planning Commission, as is the Architectural Review. But, I'm looking for people that on the boards, commissions, and committees that want to get involved probably at the next deeper level than volunteering in one of our organizations. People that have giftedness and passion to not only serve the community, but to dedicate the number of hours and resources, personal resources that it takes to be involved in one of these. Certainly, I don't necessarily look for a specific skill set in anyone, because I think what makes a great board is a mix of people, a mix of ideas, a mix of backgrounds, a mix of skill sets that come together and are complementary. So, but we do look for people. The boards, commissions, and committees are a great next step for people that really want to cement themselves in being involved.
Well, so you've been on the city council for a number of years, but this is your first term as mayor. What has been the biggest surprise being the mayor?
Wow, what has been the biggest surprise? Well, as you might know, I became the mayor without having been vice mayor. And my vice mayor, Ian Bain, who serves, had never been in one of those two leadership roles. So for the both of us walking into these leadership positions, it was a little bit new. I think one of the things that I knew about, but until you've lived it, is the amount of energy going on in our community. I mean, I could go to countless number of events, as do my colleagues on the council. But what's exciting about that is when you take a step back and look at all the different reasons that events are happening, from libraries to seniors to English language learning families graduating from a family program with the school district. All these different things happening, to people involved in parks and art, people involved in sports. I've been to a Girl Scout Gold Award ceremony and an Eagle Scout ceremony. All these different things, the vibrancy of our community is there. And as much as I knew that, it's exciting to see, and you get a lot out of it. You know, being mayor, you meet a lot of great people and amazing people, and people often ask council people, how in the world do you do it? And honestly, I wonder how in the world some of these community volunteers do it. There are some amazing people in our community giving selflessly with no title and no business cards attached to it. So
kind of gives you some energy there to keep going.
Yeah, it does.
So we talked about how a lot has changed in Redwood City. Where do you see the next 5 years? What's Redwood City going to look like? Or what are some of those big key milestones we're going to be seeing in the next few years in the city?
Yeah, I think, you know, as I tell people, the city's role for me is not to, you know, determine direction of where the community is going to go, but to set the table for things to happen. That's really what we did in the Downtown Precise Plan. We set the table. We built the structure and the foundation by which vibrancy can happen. It still takes the people in our community and the market and factors way outside of our control driving that. I think what we're going to face in the next few years in the community is the challenge to continue to manage our growth and manage our success. I think great things have happened, but we've got to stay on top of that and make sure that we find the right resources. You'll hear Monday night in our meeting about our budget session, the idea of looking at phased in approaches to make sure we're managing our infrastructure, keeping ourselves fiscally sound. We don't know, you know, if you look at cycles, we could be a couple years off of another downturn, and we've got to make sure that the city is fiscally sound and that we're sustaining that. And for me, it's not so much about planning and trying to predict your future, it's about preparing yourself for it. I am much more a person who leads out of a preparation modality than trying to plan specifically what's going to happen. If we do the right things and are prepared, we can deal with whatever happens and whatever's handed to us.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me. There's certainly a lot going on in Redwood City these days.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
And thank you for joining us on San Mateo County Today.
Great.
Well done.
Thank you.